It's me, Foma, and today I really want to talk to you about not tolerating any nurse bullying, if that's with doctors in your hospital setting, nurses, your coworkers as a nurse, and patients that happened to me this past week. If you don't know, I am a practicing registered nurse in California. I'm currently a case manager in the emergency room department. So I'm an emergency room RN case manager, and I'm also a full-time entrepreneur. So I help nurses like yourself who are ready to start a supplemental income while working at bedside, or maybe you're ready to make the full transition. But for me, I did take a year off working in nursing and just focused on my business, and that was such a great experience. And then I went back because I had a calling, to go back, so I went into, my role. And so that's that. But today, working in the ED, you're dealing with interesting personalities. You're dealing with people who are stressed, who are highly stressed, and some people, they don't know how to talk to you appropriately. And if you know me personally, which is probably not, but for me personally, I'm a highly sensitive person, meaning what will bother someone might not will bother me. Like what will roll off someone's back might not roll off my back. So for me not to go home and take this nonsense, take this negative energy, what I like to do is to address certain situations right when it happens. So for example, I have this fellow coworker when I'm day shift and this person's night shift, and there's two major tasks that weren't complete on her shift, and I'm used to, if it was the other way around, they would make a big stink about it. So I asked her, did you get these tasks done? And she responded to me like, child, please. And this person was like older, maybe 50, 60. I don't know how old this person is. And even though, you might have a nurse that's the age of your mother, when we're at the workplace, you're not my mama. I have a mama, that calls me almost every day, nagging me about something. And you're not that person. So we're both here to do a job. I don't need anything about my age, because that's, age bias. People don't like being discriminated if they're too old. I don't like being discriminated because you think I'm a child or whatever that is. So I have no tolerance for nonsense. I'm a highly sensitive person. And I think it's because I'm so empathetic by nature. I always live my life on how I want people to speak to me. So when I deal with people who do not speak to me in the respectable manner that I do for them, I'm highly sensitive and I will address you. And it always takes people by surprise, because if you hear my tone of voice, I'm soft spoken and all these things. And so it's very I think we live in a life, like, if you live in a world where if you're not a loud spoken person, people think you're weak. So what happens is, I'm nice, and then once you give me that negative energy or that disrespectful behavior, I will match it like 10 times. I will be a mirror, so that person and everyone who's watching understands like that's unacceptable. And which is why I'm so passionate about this topic about nurse bullying is a no-no. Nurse bullying is really important, because not only are you teaching that person that that behavior is okay, all the other people watching you are learning what you will tolerate. So it's very important that, not that you make a scene, you don't want it to escalate that bad, but you have to teach everyone around you that you have boundaries, and you have to embrace, not being the person most liked in that moment, but you understand that everyone afterwards is going to understand that you're going to have that same dynamic, that same situation, if they repeat that behavior. And end result, what happened for me in my case was, this individual, after I addressed them in my point of view, a professional way, they went to report to the principal or whatever. It said I yelled at her, even though I don't yell, especially not in the workplace, especially being a black nurse. I don't yell. And this person's black as well. So she yelled, and I told my manager, listen, I don't care if this person keeps on coming to you. I approached her in a very professional way. I told her what she did was unacceptable. I told it to her face, and I didn't think it was something that I need to report to you. I could have easily reported her because she did some things that should have been done during her shift. But I'm one of those people, if I approach you and I tell it to you, the first time I'm going to give you a pass. The second time I'm going to tell you, and then I'm going to escalate you. And usually I don't have to do that. And I've always gotten respect from my peers, and I'm usually the least reported. I'm usually don't have issues with management because that's how I practice my nursing. But this individual should have ran to the management and said, I did this, but failed to disclose what she did. Okay. First of all, no one just out of the blue, especially nurses, out of the blue just goes off on you for no reason. There's always some precipitating factor. Okay. And in my case, you know, on the outside in, it could look like it's a negative thing because someone reported me, but I want people to know, and this individual is going to go gossip. You go gossip and say, guess what Ifoma said to me? Ifoma said this and she did this and she did that. But guess what though? They're going to know that if you do the same thing, I'm going to have the same situation with you. And they're going to understand that I'm not the one to be, you know, I'm not the one to tolerate nonsense. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what's so beautiful about being a nurse entrepreneur, is knowing that you can survive and bring great income for yourself, that your tolerance for nonsense at the workplace will decrease. It's very, you know, it was a transition going back to working for people when I've been working for myself for a whole year. And then even though I only do like 312s, and very soon I'm transitioning to being per diem, because you know, the nonsense that goes on in the hospital setting, now I realize why I left. But I'm there to help to help people in my community. I feel like I want to make a difference, and I love that part. So one day a week is good enough for me. And so the reason why I'm telling you this is really important, that you embrace that you are going to have situations that require confrontation. And when I mean confrontation, doesn't mean you have to curse people out and do all this. You just have to be factual. Like, for instance, this person that I had an issue with had 2 patients that required to be transferred, because we're case management and that's what we do mostly. We're clearing patients, we're identifying if they're able to be admitted to our hospital, we're identifying if they need to be transferred to another hospital, we're helping them arrange transportation, we're doing all these things. We're reviewing if the patient requires hospitalization, if they meet criteria, all these things. So she had 2 patients that I knew she did not get at the last minute because she did all this other work for them, but she did not have their consent form signed. She did not speak to the patient to explain to them what was going on. So they were in the hospital all day for that shift and did not know what was going on. She did not have the doctors who ordered for the patients to be transferred. She did not have any of those forms signed, the diagnosis of the patient signed. So basically she didn't have anything done. But she wrote what she did on her piece of paper, but when it comes to the accountability piece, with the charting, all that stuff, none of that was done. And to have 2 patients, not one, but 2 patients, that you did all this work, you found the accepting doctor and all this crap, but you didn't explain to the patient that they're being transferred. So because they have to be agreeable to want to transfer to another hospital, and if they aren't agreeable, then you have to bring financial counseling. You have to explain to them what the cost of care will be if they elect to stay here, even though their insurance is telling us they're not going to authorize their stay. All that is time intensive, and that's part of being a nurse, is explaining and doing an initial assessment on your patient and letting them know like what's going on, understanding why they were brought to the hospital, what their health history is. And you didn't do that for 2 patients. Like, that was really unacceptable, and I told her, and I did not escalate that to management until she reported me and just really inflamed her part and just really inflated what went on. And because I'm a new hire, I haven't been at this place for too long, I don't know what's going on. But I'm like, not only do you guys not pay me well for this, I come in when we're short all the time. I've done extra shifts for you guys to help your team, and then you're not going to critically think, watching my work history, and understand that for this to happen, something had to happen first. You know what I'm saying? But that's just politics and whatever. But the point of it is, I am very comfortable confronting people. I almost went off. I had a situation with another emergency room nurse who wasn't even a case manager, and she later apologized because she identified what she did was unacceptable, because I confront people. I'm not afraid to be reported. Long as I'm doing something that's safe, is in the patient's best interest, and most important, it's in my best interest, I'm using my critical thinking skills, everything is going to be fine. And what I realized with seasoned nurses, is like there's this like passive aggressive thing where you feel a certain way but you don't express it. You don't express it right when it happens because you're afraid of what the other person will think, and you're afraid of, you want to be liked. I'm going to tell you this: if you really want to be a boss, if you really aspire to have a nurse owned business in the future, that has to go away. You have to. I just cursed out my neighbor just not like 2 hours ago. This woman is moving, or supposedly, and they're parked in front of my parking spot, and the other neighbor, they're like keying and having friends, and then she's all talking, oh, she doesn't know how to drive, blah 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 blah. And I went off on her because they're telling me, do you want to do this? Do you want to park here? Do you want to? I'm like, no, you don't pay my mortgage, so I'm not going to park where you want to park. I'm not going to park where you want me to park. And I would have parked if they talked to me with respect, because I'm highly sensitive. I'm very sensitive to how people talk to me. And then the woman's boyfriend came off, talked to me all aggressively and beeping their horn. I beat my horn, I raised my voice at him, and he changed his energy. And I live with these people. I mean, I live in this complex. I'm a homeowner, they're renters, and you know, I'm used to conflict. People need to know how to talk to you. I do this at work. I do this with talking with custom clients. I do this with my neighbors. It has to be a lifestyle commitment. And I missed one of the comments. One of you lovely gosh, where was the comment? I'm currently experiencing bullying. Dorcas, so hopefully I'm pronouncing your name. I'm experiencing bullying at nursing school. Thank you for this video. You know, and that's another thing. I'm going to do a more in-depth video, because nurse bullying does stem from nursing school. You get it from your instructors, and you realize to survive nursing school, you should not ask a lot of questions, even though they say ask all the questions. There's no stupid questions. But you realize the ones who ask a lot of questions, the instructors start having their extra eye on them, and then they make your life hell. So you just want to bury your head and make it through your nursing program. And I was in an accelerated like 15 or 16-month nursing program. I know how it is. And then you have nurse preceptors who may or may not be getting paid extra to precept you, and they have this kind of sink or swim, survival of the fittest mentality, and they're very abusive. And then when you finally know what you're doing the same crap to the next person. Even my instructor is on it. Yeah, your instructor, either Dorcas, you're saying your instructor is a nurse bullier, or she's advocating you about nurse bullying. Because when I was in nursing school, I had a nurse bullying situation. I'll do another video about this. But this heifer had the audacity to fail me in med surg, or adult health 1, the clinical. Who fails clinical? I passed the didactic part, but because I had this catty ass nurse that was precepting, the patient's blood pressure was like 160 over something. I told her I was going to get coffee, but I guess when she assessed the blood pressure, it was high. And she told my instructor that I decided to get coffee when the patient's blood pressure was 160 over something. And I said, I talked to her before I did she took the blood pressure. So she basically said, okay, that was okay for me to get coffee, but ran catty ass passive aggressive nonsense to my instructor. And I was one of the top students in her clinical until that time, and then she decided to flunk me. But guess what? She didn't know this though. I have a learning disability, and so they really failed my disability act. They did not respect my rights as a person from a disability population. And I took their ass all the way to the Department of Education, and I got, I didn't have personal lawyers. Now I'm thinking about I should have sued their ass, but I got my tuition reimbursed for that whole tuition and all this other nonsense, and they corrected their disability for people who have disabilities. So I reformed that nursing program. They had some nonsense, had the audacity to fail me clinical because I went to get coffee in the patients. But I'm not a freaking nurse at that point. And I told you before you took the blood pressure. So, I went through a lot of nonsense in nursing school, and I think that's why I'm like very like aggressive now. My professor's low-key shady and favors other students in my class. Hopefully, is she black? Because black people can be the worst in nursing school. I hate to say that, but it's just like, there's so many like different videos I need to talk about my nursing experience. But Dorcas, I appreciate you, participating and telling me your experience in nursing school. Keep strong. Learn the politics. What really is helpful for me. What got me through is having a backup plan. Not a backup plan if you don't make a nursing, you're going to make it through nursing school. The backup plan I mean is accountability, because everybody's accountable to somebody. My school at the time was a brand new nursing program, so they were trying to get accredited by the CCNE or whatever that accredited body was. So they knew when I got the Department of Education on their ass for failing my disability rights, they changed their tone real quick, and I now thinking about, I should have sued their ass. I could have got more money, but they were saying, oh, I was trying to sue them. So I was proving to them that I wasn't trying to sue them. I was trying to change how they treat people with disabilities. So I just went through the state version. I didn't have to come out of pocket for this. I didn't get any extra money from this. But now I'm looking at it, I should have sued their ass. But what you need to do is know your rights as a student, okay? You need to document every day or once a week about what's going on and what you're doing, and know who that instructor is accountable, know who that school is accountable, because there's always so many different government entities that keeps the scales in balance. And in schools, their scales in balance. And what happens in nursing school, they make you feel like you're so vulnerable and you don't have rights, and if you don't do my way, I'm going to make your life a hell, and I'm going to fail you, and you're not going to be a nurse. But it's not that way. So if you feel that you're not just in your feelings and this instructor is really like doing too much, they're abusing their power, you can escalate it. And if they're the dean, and I didn't tell you this, I can do another video about what the dean of my nursing program was a culprit. It got so bad that they fired a lot of people when I pulled all the wools of what they did. I'm going to tell you my experience. It's kind of crazy, but the dean has someone they're accountable to. And then once your whole institution of your college is messed up, there's entities that you can reach out to, like I did. And no one helped me. Everyone was telling me, oh, just suck it up, blah, blah, blah. It's just one extra semester, blase, blase. No, it's about the principality of it. It's about how they make me feel. It's about them thinking that because they're instructors, they're just going to push their weight on me. And for me, I have this trait like my father, God bless it, he's deceased, but when he was alive, he was always one of those people like, I don't care how little money I have, you will not push me around. I have rights. And if you're willing to do the research, you have rights in America, or no matter where you are. You just have to advocate for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Let me look at the comments because I'm just rambling. Yeah, please do. Hi, Bruno. Yeah, I'm trying to make this live not too long, but I went through some major crap to become a nurse, and it's crazy. And everyone's telling me you don't have to do this. But what I learned is I know how to navigate, the legal system, and going through that in nursing school, my first year as a nurse was hell. I was in med-surg telemetry because everyone's telling me just be grateful you got a job. I wanted to go to ICU, and I hated med-surg telemetry. And anyone that comes to me now, I tell them, screw what people think. If you want to be a psychiatric nurse, be a psychiatric nurse. Screw your nursing skills. If you don't like your job, it doesn't matter what type of skills you have. Love your job. And that's what's messed up about nursing, is so many nurses hate their job and they feel trapped. They don't want to start from scratch. They don't want to lose their tenureship. They don't want to lose their union. I mean, their seniority in the union, their pay rate, all this crap, so they make it horrible on you. But me, I have no kids at this time. I will get married this year. I'm manifesting it. I'm getting married this year, but I'm currently single. So I have a house, but I can rent that on Airbnb real quick. Y'all not going to have me feeling like I don't have options. I have almost 6 years of nursing experience, and I could do case management. I could do psychiatric nursing, and very soon I'll do emergency room nursing. And I could take my black ass back to telemetry if I had to. I have options. Y'all not going to pay me some of these chicken change rates for a long time. I'm not going to tolerate this nonsense on the floor because I don't have to. I can practice anywhere in the U.S. I can do a travel contract and go to freaking Hawaii if I have to. You know what I'm saying? That is what we're able to do once you get through nursing school and you get like a year or two of experience. Dorcas, I always doubt whether or not I should do nursing because of all the cattiness, and like you, I'm very highly sensitive person now. Whoop whoop. I know that's fine. Yep. Yeah, I think I might do a little video. Dorcas, you just give me all these great ideas right now. But when it comes to being a highly sensitive personality, what I would have, if someone could have told me this, and that's why I love my channel, and that's why I love being a nurse transitional coach or nurse, whatever. I like being a counselor, therapist for nurses, is because I didn't have that for myself when I was there. I didn't have a nurse who was black, who understood that how it feels not to like bedside, because there's a lot of black nurses. Well, they're not really a lot of black nurses, but the black nurses I know, when you tell them that you don't like bedside for whatever reason, it's like they don't get it. So the cattiness in nursing isn't going away because it's mostly by women. But what I would say, if you're a highly sensitive personality, really think twice about what specialty you go into. If you're highly sensitive, you most likely should go into mental health, intensive care, pediatrics, and OB. Because when you're highly sensitive, on the med surg in California, the patient ratio is 5, and it might be 6 or 7 if you have an LVN or LPN. And you know, you're having call lights, and if you work in a hospital that's cheap, they're not going to equip you with the right staff that you need, meaning like you won't have a CNA to help you turn your patients. And if you're new and you're black, they're going to give you the worst patients. They're going to give you the highly acute patients, the patients who are incontinent, the patients who are total care. So you're going to find your ass like cleaning patients who have C. diff like 4 times a day. They're like 200 pounds, and it's only going to be you, and everyone's going to pretend like they're freaking busy, and you won't have time to change these patients. And then, you know, room 5 needs morphine, the other one needs, it's just like all this nonsense. And then if you go into ICU, at least you only have 2 patients. I don't know the ratio for ICU because I'm not an ICU nurse, but I'm assuming 2 patients. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but at least you have just 2 patients. And you know, the ICU mentality, I've been told, like, they really help one another, because you can't survive in ICU, you know, cleaning patients by yourself. And the ED, you know, I'm a highly sensitive person, but the thing I like about the ED is like the patients are in and out, and you're not doing total care. There's like a lot of like staff to help, and people really respect you when you say you're an ED nurse or you're an ICU nurse, and they pay well. And when you do travel contracts, they pay the most, ED and ICU. And you can like you can go to ICU if you're sick of ED. Like that's, I'm going to start a transitional program to do ED nursing, because even though I'm an entrepreneur and I make great income doing that, I'm a very, I would say, multi-passionate person, which means that I'm good at a lot of things. I like to do a lot of things. So I like to be fluid. And so something great about knowing that you have a job that's easily employable and you can run your own business. And my long-term goal is to open a practice as a nurse practitioner. You know, I have a sister who's a DMP, my mother's an FMP, and you know, I have a lot of people close to me who are nurse practitioners, and just emergency room and seeing how these doctors spend literally 5 minutes with these patients. They go through all this schooling, yet they spend 5 minutes with these patients. I go in there, they're like, "Did your doctor tell you got cancer?" They're like, "No, he didn't tell me I had cancer." I'm like, "Well, I gotta transfer you because you got cancer, and we don't have that type of service here. You need this type of procedure. We don't have that type of surgeon here." Like, what the hell? Like, why are doctors going to all these 4 years of medical school, 3 years of residency, and 2 years of another fellowship, and all you do is spend 5 minutes with the patient? And then when I go in there, they're telling me they can't even tell me your name. Okay, that means you're not making an impression if a patient doesn't even know your name, and they don't understand why they're being hospitalized. And I feel as a FMP and even as a nurse, we have a different model of care where we do more holistic and we have more interpersonal access to the patient. So I know I've gone all over the place. I've talked to you about how nurse bullying is a no-no. Don't tolerate nurse bullying from doctors. I have another video where I can talk about this in more depth, but the supervisor of all the ED doctors, I don't know his official title, but he's one of the managers. There's 2 of them. He wanted me to arrange transportation for a patient who signed out AMA. And it was a sad case. He was this guy who was disabled, and he needed to get his right foot amputated or right leg amputated, and he wanted to get it amputated. But we needed to transfer him to another hospital, so he signed out AMA. And usually we do not help coordinate transportation for patients who sign out AMA, because what happens is if something medical issue happens and they sign against medical advice, it's like we're corroborating with their plan. So I had to tell him, the doctor, like, I don't feel comfortable. I'm a nurse for 5+ years. I've never coordinated transportation for a patient who signed out AMA. because we're liable if something happens to them. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. And he was being kind of passive aggressive, telling me that nurses don't get sued for malpractice. It's the doctors. When? Have you, what? Nurses don't get sued for malpractice? It's nurses are known for notorious for doctors saying, oh, that's the nurse's fault. If the patient leaves the hospital, it goes on case management. The doctors are going to blame us. So I had to escalate to him and the doctor of the vice president of the hospital, and I had to escalate to my supervisor. I had to document all that crap, because best believe, where something happens, they'll be like, oh, the case management didn't tell us anything, so there's so many opportunities where I have to assert myself. Do not turn nurse bullying. Do not tolerate people demeaning your role. Nurses don't get malpractice suits, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, what the top? Doctors yelling at you because you can't do 5 things because you're short staffed. They still expect you to do the work of 5 people. There's so many opportunities where you're going to feel burnt out. And I'm going to share with you more things you can do in the future, when it comes to like taking care of yourself. I'm a huge advocate of self-care, and that's the only way you're going to be in this profession for long. And think about it, you are a caregiver. You can't be a caregiver if you're not caring for yourself. But these hospitals do a great job, are like just drain you of like your energy and your essence, that you have nothing left when you go home. And you really have to make it an effort. Like, it's another part-time job to take care of myself. It's another part-time job for me to, force myself to do exercise, force myself to get massages, force myself to do all these things so I'm a better caregiver for my patients. So just think about that. I really am appreciative of those of you who are watching this. When you're watching this, say the replay, if you're watching the stream after it's ended, right? Replay. I also have a free gift about 20 plus great business ideas that you can start that doesn't require a lot of money to start. You can click that. You can copy and paste the link. I'll provide it in the comment section as well. I look forward to talking to you more. I'm going to do my best to show up tomorrow. So my name is Ifoma. I'm a registered nurse, and I'm also a nurse entrepreneur, and I'm a nurse burnout recovery therapist. And I also help nurses transition to starting their own side business. So if you're feeling burnt out in nursing school, at your job, you want to reach out to me. I provide my contact info in the description box, and I think it's going to be one of the comments as well. I'll pin it, and I just want to help you. This is what my channel is for, is to help nurses like us who are highly sensitive, who are very passionate, who are very empathetic, yet sometimes we feel like people don't value that anymore in the hospital. And it's, it's hard. I just feel like sometimes, as a nurse, I feel like we're neglected. It's like, hello, like, we really bring so much revenue to these hospitals. We really make a difference. And I don't know about you, but I give, and I really give my all when I'm at work, because I know how it feels to, be in a very economic disadvantaged place, and you're not feeling your best. You don't know how you're going to pay for this service that you need, and you feel intimidated because you don't know all these medical terminology. So I always come from that point of view when I treat my patients and when I take care of them. It's because I know how it feels to when when you're going through a rough financial time. And especially being a Black woman, I know how we can be treated in the healthcare setting, even from Black healthcare providers. It's like people can be so cold in the hospital. So I just want to make a little difference as I can, and I feel like having this community and having this channel, I'm able to do that. And so if you have topics you want me to share in future live streams, just post in the comment section. First, subscribe to my channel so you'll be the first to notify when I'm on, and click the bell icon, which notifies you and gives you alerts of my streams if you miss it due to work schedule, life issues. But I'm here for you, and have a great, blessed day of the rest of your Sunday. Bye.